Do you happen to know where Abraham came from and why there is so much fighting and mistrust and hatred in the Middle East? Well, let's look what the Bible has to say. Everybody should already know this. They should be taught this in church, but the vast majority of people are not. It all goes back to Noah. After Noah was survived the flood, he had three sons, Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Of course, Japheth, all of his descendants are from Europe and Asia. Ham went to Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa. But Shem is everybody in the Middle East. So whether you're Jew, Arab, it doesn't make any difference. All of you are brothers. All of you are from Shem. So we go back to Abraham. Abraham, where was he from? A lot of people are shocked when you say, well, Abraham's not from Israel. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there was no such thing as Israel. There was no law of Moses. There was nothing like that. Abraham was actually from the ancient city of Ur, which is in modern day Iraq. So by today's standards, Abraham was actually an Iraqi, not Israeli. He wasn't Jewish. He came from Iraq and was promised by God to go on this trip, and he was going to give him a new land for his children to have. And he ended up finally coming to the land of what we call today Israel. And it was promised to him that his descendants would one day own it. And of course, he had Isaac, and then Isaac had Jacob, who later became Israel. And his children possessed the land of Israel after they came out of Egypt. Moses led them out of Egypt, but then wasn't able to actually go into the land because he had disobeyed God. God told him to speak to the rock so the water would come out. But Moses got mad at Israel and turned and hit the rock with the staff instead and disobeyed God. So God's like, you're done. You're not going in. He let him go up on a mountain and look over the Jordan and look into Israel. It was like, you're not going there. So Joshua led them in. They conquered the land and ended up becoming what we know today as the nation of Israel. And they went on for about 480 years as judges. And then finally got their first king, Saul, in around the year 1000. David became king around the year 960. But after that, Israel was taken away a couple of times. Assyria took them away. Babylon took them away, but they always returned. And they lasted as a nation for about 1,500 years, all the way up to 70 AD, where Israel ceased in the Bible. Jesus prophesied of this as he talked to them, told them, like, there's going to be people in the field, you better run to the mountains. That's going to be worse than any time ever in the history. And of course, nowadays, most churches teach that as, oh, he's talking about the end of the world. No, it had nothing to do with the end of the world. It had to do with the end of Jerusalem and Israel, which took place 37 years after he died. Jesus was resurrected in 33 AD. This happened in 70 AD, 37 years later. When Jesus was going to the cross, in one of the Gospels, it said the women were weeping. He told the women, he said, don't weep for me. He said, weep for yourselves, because Jesus knew what was about to happen and knew that these people would still be alive to see it. So all this was fulfilled in 70 AD. It's not the end of the world like most people are taught today. But nevertheless, that was the end of Israel in the Bible. In 70 AD, the Romans came in, completely destroyed it, did exactly what Jesus said. He said there won't be one stone left on this temple. And it's not today. You can go there. There's not one stone of the temple left. It was all destroyed, just like he said it would be. And Israel ended. And for the next 2,000 years, the Palestinians moved in there, and that's where they've been living for 2,000 years. Then after World War II and all the atrocities against the Jewish people, Britain and the United States decided, well, they need their own homeland. And they looked, well, the Bible says this is where they used to be, so we're going to put them back there. So they went in by force, forced out the Palestinians who had lived there for 2,000 years, and gave the land to the Jewish people. And they formed the new land of Israel, which we have today. But the Israel that we have today is not the Israel from the Bible. It's the man-made Israel from 1948. Now, I still consider it the Israel because it's still the Jewish people. It's still the land God promised to them. So I feel like it's still Israel. But I know many Christian people that don't support Israel at all because they say that Israel of the Bible ended in 70 AD. It has nothing to do with this modern day Israel that just started in 1948. But most people's completely unaware that Israel didn't exist for 2,000 years to just recently. But nevertheless, like I said, I still personally support Israel. I don't care anything about politics stuff, but just the people that's over there, I just want peace for everybody because they're all brothers. And, maybe one day they won't be fighting, but I doubt it. So you can understand why they hate each other. The Palestinians, if you were a Palestinian living there for the last 2,000 years and your family had handed down their land to you all this time, and then some foreign military comes in and tells you got to leave because we're going to give this land to somebody else, you'd be mad. And that's the reason they're mad. Israel's like, well, it was promised to us by God through Abraham. So they feel they have the right to be there. Palestinians feel they have the right to be there. So Israel's existed totally about 1,500 years, according to the Bible. So, if you look back over the last 6,000 years at least that people's lived there, Israel's only controlled the land for about 1,500. They controlled the land for about 4,500. So you see their argument. And that's where things get dicey and hairy because people will just take one side or the other. To get peace there, it's going to take somebody that looks at both sides because they both have their valid arguments. But that land was promised by God to Israel, and that's where they're at today. And I feel like that's the Lord's doing. But you also can completely understand why the people in that region hate their guts and feel like it's their land because most of the last 6,000 years, it has been their land. So this is just to clear up what's going on there and why there's so much hatred, because the Bible perfectly explains it. But yet, very few people that I know that's Christians know anything about the history. They just support one side or support the other side. It's not about supporting either side. It's about understanding why it's even the way it is. It all started in Ur of the Chaldeans, which is modern day Iraq. And now here we are, brother fighting against brother. All the people in the region are from Shem. So it's a sad situation. But at least maybe now you have at least a little bit of more clarity on what's actually going on over there and why there's so much animosity. And maybe somebody that can understand that one day will be able to figure out how to make peace there.